You are listening to Danger UXB, an audio episode written and narrated by Mark Felton for the audio-only channel War Stories with Mark Felton. The Second World War may have ended 75 years ago, but the detritus of that terrible conflict still has the power to take lives today. London is littered with unexploded German bombs left over from the Luftwaffe campaign to rain death and destruction upon British cities known as the Blitz in 1940-41. The construction of new buildings in London and many other towns and cities across Britain can be a hazardous affair, for an unknown number of German bombs of various sizes lay buried several feet beneath the surface, growing more unstable with each passing year. It is the job of the British Army's Royal Engineers and Royal Logistic Corps to tackle all bomb disposals across Britain and globally wherever British forces are deployed, and to assist the emergency services at home. After several post-Second World War reorganisations, dealing with unexploded ordnance, aerial bombs, landmines, and other devices like improvised explosive devices, or IEDs, which have been used extensively in modern battlefields, is shared between units from two different parts of the army. Basically, the disposal of old ordnance, like German bombs and Argentine landmines in the Falklands, is the responsibility of explosive ordnance squadrons of the Royal Engineers. The on-the-spot defusing of newly laid devices on current battlefields, particularly IEDs, is a responsibility of the relatively new Royal Logistic Corps, which was only formed in 1993. The unit charged with making safe all potential explosive mayhem and death within mainland Britain is 3-3 Engineer Regiment, based at Carver Barracks in Wimbish, Essex. The regiment, the largest in the Royal Engineers, was formed in 1973, but its roots go back to the Royal Engineer Bomb Disposal Companies of the Second World War. They were small teams, equipped with sandbags, spades and picks that roved around Britain disposing of UXBs, unexploded bombs, with a combination of rudimentary tools, a lot of guesswork and nerves of steel. The figures speak volumes of the bravery of these disposers of yesteryear. By the end of the war, the Royal Engineers had disposed of 45,441 aerial bombs, 6,983 anti-aircraft shells, and an estimated 300,000 beach mines. 389 disposers had been killed on the job, and 13 had been awarded the George Cross for their gallantry, a decoration equal to the Victoria Cross. It goes without saying that the men who defuse bombs for a living have considerable powers of concentration and are not easily rattled. Few jobs, even in the army, place a soldier so close to instant death, or at the very least grievous injury, on such a regular basis. So it is also little wonder that bomb disposal soldiers have been among the most decorated in the army. Sergeant Douglas Leake is one of those men. He grew up in Moffat, in Dumfries and Galloway in Scotland. On the 14th of May 2007, Leake, who was 33 at the time, was the on-duty bomb disposal officer at Carver Barracks when a call came through from the emergency services reporting a probable unexploded German bomb that had been unearthed in London's Docklands during construction work. Leake and his 7-man team immediately raced down to the capital, ready to make safe whatever they found. Leake was to win a particular regimental accolade in 2007, the soldier who had made safe the most Second World War bombs in a year, a total of 6. It perhaps gives some idea of the volume of unexploded German ordnance that is still buried across Britain, that a team of soldiers could be kept busy year on year over 70 years after the war destroying these deadly vestiges of conflict. On arrival at the building site on Roman Road, Leake set about identifying the size and type of bomb that had been discovered. The Luftwaffe dropped 250, 500 and 1,000 kilogram bombs, But Leake quickly realized that this mud-encased and long-forgotten relic was a 250-kilo model. If it exploded, it had the potential to cause considerable damage up to 1.5 miles, and so was a terrible hazard in the midst of a busy modern metropolis. So Leake's first thought was to minimize the blast effect if the bomb detonated. Leake and his team constructed earthen ramparts around the bomb to protect nearby buildings and a railway line. He also confirmed that the bomb's detonator was in perfect working order. The Germans built an anti-tamper tremble sensor into their bombs so that any sharp movements could trigger the detonator. Therefore, it was imperative that the bomb was kept as still as possible during the defusing period. On day 3, with the earthen walls in place, Leake could now address beginning to defuse the bomb itself. The first order of business was to drill a hole into the firing mechanism, through which Leake could inject a saline solution that would jam the bomb's working parts. However, that meant Leake crouching over a live bomb for 2 hours, carefully drilling through the casing, knowing all the time that the slightest movement could set the bomb off. If it had gone off, Leake would have been instantly vaporized. Once this tricky operation had been completed, Leake then very carefully injected the saline solution into the arming mechanism. Leake retreated 200 meters behind the defensive walls and ordered the next phase of the disposal to commence. A remote control robot known as a wheelbarrow was driven up to the bomb. The wheelbarrow is a tracked vehicle with a television camera for an eye and a long maneuverable arm to conduct delicate work. It is also armed with a shotgun used to trigger bombs with a single blast. If the bomb detonated, the only thing that would be destroyed would be an expensive robot. These vehicles have proved their worth on countless occasions before in Northern Ireland and Britain, helping to make safe IRA bombs. Originally designed by Lieutenant Colonel Peter Miller in 1972 for use on the mean streets of Northern Ireland, the curious name came about because Miller's original prototype robot was built out of a wheelbarrow and a lawnmower. The lives of many bomb disposal technicians have been saved by the clever application of technology, the wheelbarrow being one of the best examples in the business, and a British design that has been extensively copied throughout the world. The robot was maneuvered up to the hole in the bomb's casing, and then the arm extended and carefully began cutting the casing so that the explosive could be steamed out. In the back of a van, Leake and his team controlled events through a bank of television monitors, the operator driving the robot from a joystick, long wires trailing out from the van towards the vehicle. But then Leake noticed a problem. The robot stopped operating and Leake approached the bomb once more on foot. I noticed the explosive inside had started to heat up to the point where it was frying, said Leake. That's dangerous. You don't know if it's going to get hot enough to detonate. I decided to leave it for 20 minutes and go back. Leake turned his back on the bomb and began to walk back to safety, conscious that the bomb could have detonated. That was a long walk, Leake said afterwards. You really have to have a word with yourself. Leake later calculated that there was over a 60% chance that the German bomb would have exploded, so he considered himself very lucky to have survived. Once everything had been allowed to cool off and settle down, the steaming of the explosive out of the casing continued. Leake and his team gained little sleep over the 4 days that they were dealing with the bomb, occasionally crashing out in a nearby fire station for a few hours. By 4 a.m. on the 4th day of the operation, the mission was completed and the bomb was declared safe. Leake and his team packed up and drove back exhausted to Wimbish, where Leake was reunited with his wife and 18-month-old twin boys. Just another job, and just one of the 6 German bombs he would deal with that year. Every time he started to tinker with one of those highly unstable and old aerial bombs, he did not know if it would be his last job. Being married to a bomb disposal expert is probably almost as stressful as disposing of the bombs themselves. It is perhaps only fitting that Leake, who was promoted to Staff Sergeant shortly afterwards, was awarded the Queen's Gallantry Medal for his leadership and courage of the highest order. A few years before Leake's exploits in London, on the 7th to 8th of January 2002, an equally tense and difficult situation had developed in the town of Lingfield in Surrey. The small town is located close to London Gatwick, one of London's 4 airports. The 9th of February 1943, a lone German raider had dropped a stick of 3 500-kilogram bombs over the town. 2 had exploded and killed 2 schoolgirls and 2 local teachers. The third bomb was never accounted for at the time. This menacing relic of a long-past conflict was discovered buried in the soil of a back garden on Mount Pleasant Road in January 2002, when some building work was being carried out. The police and a Royal Engineers bomb disposal team were immediately called in. The police, on Army advice, threw up a cordon of 100 metres around the bomb and began to evacuate all of the nearby houses. When Lieutenant Paul Ness, commanding the bomb disposal team, discovered how unstable the bomb was, along with the alarming fact that the bomb's fuse and detonator were fully functioning, he had the cordon extended to 300 metres. The evacuation called for the type of mass organisation of people not seen in the town since the Second World War. Firstly, 3 evacuation centres were established in the town, with enough space to cope with the eventual 500 residents who were forced to spend the night away from their homes. The police also had to reroute all major highways away from the town. Whilst all this was going on, Lieutenant Ness, closely assisted by Lance Corporal Dean McMaster and Sapper Stephen Smith, worked through the night to defuse the German bomb. The device lay only 10 feet from the house where it had been discovered, and if it had gone off, it would have caused significant damage across a wide area of the town. Ness and his team followed the same procedure that Sergeant Leake later used in London. Holes were carefully drilled into the casing, each vibration taking the men a step closer to their maker. The explosive was not steamed out on this occasion, and instead the detonator was immobilized and the live bomb was gingerly transported alone by Sapper Smith to a special army range where it was blown up. Unexploded German bombs remain a constant headache for Army and Navy bomb disposal experts. And as well as aerial bombs, the Royal Navy is often called upon to deal with old sea mines that are dredged up by fishing trawlers or are washed up on shore. The aerial bombs are usually discovered during building work, as in Lingfield and Docklands, and are normally in areas of dense population and infrastructure. Lieutenant Ness and Lance Corporal McMaster were both awarded the Queen's Gallantry Medal for tackling the difficult disposal in Lingfield, and Sapper Smith was awarded a Queen's Commendation for bravery. You have been listening to Danger UXB, an audio episode written and narrated by Mark Felton. For excellent video episodes, please visit my YouTube channel, Mark Felton Productions. You can also help support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon, details in the description box below.